Welcome to the Jaybefaunt channel. I am your host, James Fauntleroy. So good to see all of you here on this bright Tuesday afternoon. The Jaybefaunt channel is available on all major podcast platforms, so go ahead and subscribe there. Also part of Revolutionary Blackout Network, so you can find me there on Sundays and Thursdays. If you have not, go ahead and give a like to the stream. This pushes me onto the algorithm so I can reach more people to help encourage and inform. So thank you so very much there. Also, if you would like to, you can go to my Substack at jaybefaunt.substack.com. This gives you email notifications whenever I go live, upload clips, or write any articles. So you have that there. Good to see all of you here on this beautiful day. Just to let you guys know, as always, I say my hellos to all my guests after all my viewers after my guest leaves. And so I would like to get into this. So what are we going to be talking about today? We have a few stories we're going to get into. So one of the stories that we're going to be talking about later in the show is going to be 186,000 slain. We're going to be talking about this new report out of the Lancet. That's going to be a really extremely important article to go over and talking about what's going on in Gaza. So I think that's going to be very important. The story in the middle of our hour is going to be access denied. We're going to be talking about what's going on with this sale that was averted from Tempur-Pedic for Mattress Firm. We're going to talk about it. And that's going to be an interesting story to get into as well. But we're going to be talking about Miss Cynthia Brown, who is holding cops accountable. So I would like to introduce my guest. She is the chair of the Ohio Coalition to End Qualified Immunity. I have Miss Cynthia Brown joining me today. Good to have you back on, Miss Cynthia.
Thank you. Thanks for having me back on.
Yeah, great. It's good to see you. Last time you were a little bit late because you had just had a new grandbaby that was born, and yes. I was excited for you when that happened. So that was a good excuse. So it's great to have you back on now.
Yeah, he's almost a month now. He was born June the 15th. Yeah.
Oh man, it's been a year?
Yes.
What? Wow. Wait, full circle moment. That's
great. Has it been like 8? I don't know. Maybe 8 months. But anyways, thanks again for having me on and updating your fans secure about, qualified immunity. So thank you.
Definitely. So last time we were talking, we were talking to Kyle for most of the hour, and we were talking about the necessity and need for qualified immunity. And I know that there's some new updates in really holding police accountable in Ohio. So if you can start to get some of those updates, that'd be great.
Okay, let me give a recent update. We resubmitted to Attorney Dave Yost, who is Attorney General for Ohio. So on March the 14th, he denied our ballot language again. He said our title was misleading. Our title has been the same like 5 or 6 previous times where he never said the title was misleading. He said protecting Ohioans' constitutional rights was misleading. Go figure, how's that work? So our attorney went to the Ohio Supreme Court, right? So Supreme Court decides they're not going to expedite our case, right? So then our lawyer filed in federal court. Federal court says, no, Dave Yost did not violate your First Amendment rights. However, we went to the 6th District Court of Appeals, and we got 2 Democrats and 1 Republican. The 2 Democrats ruled in our favor that Dave Yost did violate our First Amendment, political speech, as well as our 4th and 14th Amendment. However, it gets very interesting because they were 2 Democrats that ruled in our favor on the 3-judge panel. Dave Yost filed a motion for the whole panel in baked hearing, which means you get 16, judges. More interestingly, you have 10 Republicans and 6 Democrats in the 6th District Court of Appeals, which remind your voters, judges are appointed by presidents. The former President Trump appointed 8 of these judges that is going to hear our case to enroll. So we're kind of like wondering, will they be fair and go by the Constitution, or will they rule recently like the Supreme Court just ruled when they created presidential immunity of the clear blue sky? I want to stress, in Ohio, Our ballot initiative includes all government workers, public servants, including law enforcement officers and correction officers. We're just not targeting cops. We don't want people to think, oh, these people are out to get the cops. No, we don't want our rights being violated. We want to end qualified immunity because we know it's unconstitutional, James. It was created 40 years ago out of the clear blue sky, just like the most recent decision where the court decided that the former president should get presidential immunity. They're nowhere in the Constitution. They're unethical and they're un-American. So we're going to continue this fight in Ohio. On the 5th, we removed the title and we corrected the errors that the Attorney General said was wrong with the ballot language. Our lawyer went over it and we resubmitted it. So he has until the 15th of July to respond, to approve the ballot language, or we just keep the fight continuously. So this is where we're at in the state of Ohio.
Wow. Okay. So it sounds to me like there is really a concerted effort to just make sure to stop you at every turn in order to really hold elected officials and public officials really accountable for what they do. And it's funny because a lot of times, no matter if it's Democrat or Republican, they will stop at every turn to be held accountable, but yet they will say, oh, well, we should hold people accountable. And it's like, well, the call's coming from inside the house.
Yes, well, the courts did rule that he was illegally blocking us, like he was purposely doing this. They did say that. If you Google Brown versus Dave Yost, the court determined he was illegal blocking this. And most recently, he stated when there's a guy running against Senator Sherrod Brown. He's a Republican. What's his name? I can't think of his name. He's a nobody to me. Anyways, Dave Yost goes on record saying that he thinks if they get rid of qualified immunity, that who's going to work for the government? Well, the government shouldn't violate our civil liberties, our God-given rights, as they would say. Mm-hmm. You know, the Constitution was written for a reason, even though, let me add this, that people of our complexion were not free when the Constitution was written. But them who take an oath to honor this Constitution should not be creating like court-created doctrines. It's like, to me, it's like Jim Crow policies all over again. Because 40 years ago, they gave us the right to vote, correct?
Yeah.
Well, here's qualified immunity, which means the cops are now replacing, in my opinion, bullets from hanging black men or women or children. You know, it's happening so much. We hear these stories all across America where within a split second, when they encounter a person, black or brown, death's going to come because you're doing something. They're going to just shoot you within minutes of a conversation.
Yeah, this actually reminds me of what happened to Roger Fortson. Roger Fortson here in Florida was a U.S. airman that was at home and was on FaceTime with his girlfriend, and then the police came to the wrong door. And as they had their guns drawn, they knocked on the door and said the sheriff's office moved out of the way of the peephole and waited for him to come to the door. And he was scared, thinking that it was somebody who's coming to rob him. So he had his pistol pointed downwards just in case, so he can protect himself, because he is a legal gun owner in the state of Florida, which we also have a law for concealed carry. And as soon as they saw him, they said, put the gun down. And then less than 2 seconds later, they shot him and they killed him dead. So,
you know what? Yeah.
The thing is like, so what's the accountability for people who shot and killed a service member of the military?
You know what? I did go to his funeral in Atlanta. I did attend his service. And what is interestingly, I did read where the officer, did he get fired? Did he get fired? Did you follow with that? But I just read where your governor has ended any accountability to sunshine laws in that state. So you should probably Google that, where there will be further no accountabilities, where cops can, okay, tell me this. Ask yourself logically, how can law enforcement investigate themselves? They can't. You need outside agencies to investigate all these police shootings.
Yeah.
They can never investigate themselves.
Yeah. I mean, that's like somebody that commits sexual assault, and then you have a bunch of people who commit sexual assault to investigate the person who committed sexual assault.
Yes, you can't do that. So that being said, the fight continues in Ohio. We had a 15-year-old that was killed by police in Ohio about 2 weeks ago. He was shot 6 times. So we're hearing more and more and more. We had an incident maybe last month. Frank Tyson, he just came home from prison. He was wrongfully convicted of a crime he didn't commit. So here you have the Innocent Project working to, well, he did 20 plus years for a crime he didn't commit. And then to make added injury, he gets killed in a bar. He tells the cops, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. And the one cop responds, I always wanted to be in a bar fight. The guy dies. So where is the accountability? They get paid on leave while they're being investigated. Most likely they say, I feared for my life, or they thought he had a weapon. And those are the get out of jail free cards. So we have to end the get out of jail free cards. We don't get.
It's that, and it's always accepted because of this. Because how many times is it, well, I fear for my life, when the person that they're trying to, that they murdered was white? Because the thing is that a lot of times that person will go, nah, that person was unarmed. But for some reason, when you look at this, it's considered dangerous.
Yeah, our skin has been dangerous. Yes. Our skin has been dangerous. They brought us over here 400 years ago for slavery, free labor. We built the White House. We have contributed a lot to America, and they seem to want to overlook this. This is why it is so important that states who do have ballot initiatives, that they put it on the ballot. We need to do more than say his name or whose street's our street, because to me, James, these aren't our street. These streets are Jim Crow streets. They still have these black policies in effect. That's still that they're writing all over in these Republican-controlled journal assemblies across America. Mm-hmm. They want to ban African-American studies. They want to the true history. They don't want to know our true history being taught to our children. They want to whitewash it.
Yeah.
So this is a continual pattern here.
Well, and you touched on a really good point. As far as like we got to do more than hold up sign and saying we shall overcome.
Yes.
Because, and I'm going to purse my words very carefully here. I was raised very religious. I was raised Christian, and we were raised to turn the other cheek. We only got 2 cheeks, so after the second cheek is slapped, what's left to do? And what I mean is, the best way for us to do this is organize. But and somebody said this very well. They said there's a difference between mobilizing and organizing. Mobilizing is getting out in the streets, holding up signs, letting people know what's going on. Organizing is really getting together to really change the system on a fundamental level. And you pointed to things like ballot initiatives. It's changing the system on a fundamental level, because we got to start saying, oh, you got the wrong one. We got to collectively as a community, and then partner with white people who are also tired of it and saying, we're not the one, not anymore. Because, and my thing is like, a lot of people now are starting to see what we have been talking about for the last 400 years. They're now starting to see it. They're like, oh, wait. Because especially during the George Floyd protests, when white people were in the front lines and they were getting their heads bashed in by police, and then the courts weren't siding with them, Well, guess what? It was basically they're going through now just a modicum of what we were going through.
You know what? You made a good point, but I will say this. We have a committee chair who is white. Her husband, Sean Rowe, he did 2 tours in Iraq. He fought front line, right? He came home. He was having a post-stress traumatic disorder. The police came to his house, and they were talking to Sean. And Sean didn't have a weapon, but somehow they got in the house. They either threw some tear gas in the house. Go the story. They shot Sean 8 times close range. A veteran, white, having a mental health crisis intervention. So we know they're going to shoot blacks and, let's say, poor class whites are not too wealthy. They're not going in these rich neighborhoods shooting these white children. Because you know what? It would stop. They pick up the phone and call the mayor. They know who they're engaging with.
Yeah.
But, yeah, in Ohio, it's a fact that they do kill more whites than they do black. But because the ratio, we make up like 13%, we notice that more. And plus the media will focus on certain cases. Have you noticed that?
Yes.
They will focus on certain cases that they consider high-profile cases. To me, what is the price of a life? Ask yourself that question. Because if I am a conservative and I see where they paid out like $3.2 billion to impacted families in the last 5 years, you know it's a problem. You know these officers have taken a life unjustly and there's no accountability. They're not going to be sentenced, or they're not most of the time going to even offer an apology to the family. Mm-hmm. I'm going to tell you this, James. Cleveland, Ohio is #1 in the nation for wrongful conviction. Do you know prosecutors get absolute immunity? Even though they hide the evidence, they know the person is innocent, but yet they go to prison for 15, 20, 30 years for crimes they didn't commit. And most alarming, let me tell you this, most of those prosecutors become judges. How dangerous is that?
That's another great point, because a lot of people don't talk about the prosecutors, the DAs, the attorney generals. Because the thing is like the first line of defense that the state has is the police, but behind that line is the prosecutors, the attorney generals, the district attorneys. And if they are also against the people, you can try to go through the courts all you want, but if they are on the side of the police, if they're on the side of the ultra rich, then there is really no hope for you in the courts, period. And so, ending qualified immunity also means ending qualified immunity on them too.
Yes, we included that in our language, especially. This is why they're against, because they know that they're going to lose their immunities too. Because in last year, Nevada, their Supreme Court ended it for all government workers, including prosecutors. So there has to be accountability if we're going to have a free America for liberty and freedom for all. We say justice for all. Let's mean that justice for all is important to me, because I have sons, I have grandsons, nephews, nieces, even women are in danger. You know what? They shoot women too. So
yeah, like Sandra Bland, right? They killed her.
Yes.
Taylor was murdered, and so I know a lot of times we've put a lot of focus on Black men, but Black women are just as much in danger as well. Not to mention sexual assault by police officers. There's over 250,000 rape kits that have been untested sitting in police precincts in this country. And how many of those may have DNA of police officers in them?
Oh, yeah. I know there were some in Columbus, Ohio that was convicted. These cops, you know what? I don't know if they think they're above the law because they wear a uniform and they're paid. Are they supposed to protect us? Is that their duty? What is their job description? That has to be that's a question mark for me. I think some of them, they come from like all white neighborhoods, or they never even encountered or grew up with black people. So it's like it's a different experience when they're patrolling, certain neighborhoods where they do, like you said, they see our complexion and they fear us automatically.
Yeah.
Let me show you this. I think that was about maybe 8 months ago. There was this pregnant girl. She's like 20 woman. She was 21, pregnant, 7 months. And they assumed she was stealing in this Kroger's in Ohio. She left out the store. She got in her vehicle. So when the cop approaches her car, he has his gun out. So she looks and she goes, "You're going to shoot me." She feared for her life. And guess what? He did shoot her. He shot her. 21 misdemeanor charges. She lost her life and that baby. Not one pro-life organization talked about that fetus who was 7 months, who could have survived, who died as well. 21 years old, she lost her life. Shot her close range. Baby died. Where was all these organizations who care about the right to life of that child? It was total silence. That baby's life mattered too. That little girl's life mattered too. They're taught through training, James, to move out the way, not to get in front of a moving vehicle. This cop got in front where she couldn't move. All she did was like shift the car to move, and he shot her. So we have to share these stories like this. Not only do we share these personal stories, but we have to make sure they don't happen again. This is why we're fighting, aggressively. We're getting our word out. We're bringing awareness to our coalition. We're growing our coalition team because we have to end it. Because if they know they're going to be liable or responsible, they will think twice. Because states that have ended it, they are de-escalating. They're not using lethal force as the first option because they know they're going to be held accountable. And everybody talks about accountability and transparency. Well, let's get that. Let's build that trust between law enforcement and the communities they serve. Or therefore, you know what, growing up, I'm much older than you, we used to know who the cops were in our neighborhoods when I grew up. There was none of this police shootings back when I grew up in the 70s and the 80s. This was uncalled for, what is going on since the 90s. Started with Rodney King. Remember that? Probably remember that. But Google that Rodney King beatdown in the 90s in California.
Yeah, I'm older than you think. I just turned 40 actually, so I remember the Rodney King beating.
You might remember that, but growing up, I don't remember all these police shootings or, I think back then maybe cops would shoot you in a leg or something. Now they use killnology. They're trying to kill. And when they shoot you, they're just not shooting you one time. They're shooting you like they're unloading like multiple times. Tomorrow is my nephew's day he got shot in 2017. They shot him twice in his back. When he hit the ground, they shot him in his face and his neck. This is why I think I shared my story before. July 10th, 2017, he took his last heartbeat. He spiritually transitioned. So I know my sisters have an event at City Hall in Columbus, Ohio tomorrow, but I'm on the road. But, you have to relive this traumatized experience over and over because every time, she thinks about the loss of her son, being gone, unarmed, but once again, that complexion that they said they feared for their life. So we're in it for the long run. We look at it either they win at the ballot, we win. But according to our polling, up to 87% of Ohioans, no matter if you're white, black, libertarian, Republican, Democrat, whatever, they want accountability. And this is why they know we're polling high in the state of Ohio, why they don't want this issue on the ballot.
Yeah,
so go ahead.
No, it kind of reminds me of what Paul Mooney said. White people got the complexion for the protection, right?
Yes.
But even still, even if you have that complexion, you're still not fully protected because it also depends on your class too.
Yes.
This is why I fear for the people who are white in places like Appalachia. Like, what about them? Like, don't they also deserve to, also have justice from these classist, racist police forces? And just because a police officer is black, that don't mean nothing to me, because
Yeah.
the thing is that they also need to be held accountable. And a lot of times, black police officers, to try to prove a point, they'll be more brutal than the white ones sometimes.
I agree. They're worse. They're worse because they're trying to prove like I'm in that good old boy network, or they want to be accepted, by their white colleagues. So look what happened to the black guy. What city was that? How they were all the black officers. He got pulled over.
Name, yeah.
Tyree, what was his name? Oh, I can't think of it.
Tyree Nichols, yeah.
Yeah, they were all black officers. They were part of that organization that they had, and they were violent towards their own race.
Yeah.
So how do we be safe if every time people perceive, let's say their perception, when they encounter blacks, that you broke the law, that you've done something? Ice-T made a movie, and I was watching it earlier. You ever watch Ice-T's movie about equal justice? And it's about a black cop that encounters a white cop, and the white cop shoots him, and he shoots him back. The white cop dies. But the movie, the point Ice-T was making, are these numbers are alarming, in law enforcement, and they're like bottom feeders, because, like you said, the prosecutors are way up here, and the judges and the senators, and they're all wearing those white cloths. We don't know. They said that the FBI did a research, and they found out that more and more of these people are also in these white supremacists. They're skinheads, and they're becoming law enforcement officers. They're your senators, your Congress people. They're your judges. So those are alarming statistics that we should, stress to our audience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Do you know that they're being recruited, and they get rewarded? I'm going to stress that they get rewarded. They get promoted to sergeants, lieutenants. In our city alone, I'm going to say this: there's one officer on SWAT that has killed 4 individuals. Mm-hmm. 2 were minors, so they get rewarded. I wonder, how do they have a conscience? How do you sleep at night when you take a life? This is me, like you. I grew up Christian. I grew up Catholic. And they teach you in the Bible, thou shalt not kill, right? Mm-hmm. Correct? So I wonder, do they see that face in their sleep? Do they think, are they apologetic? I made a mistake. But will they ever say, hey, I made a mistake? Same as a prosecutor. How do you sleep if you framed an innocent black man? You put him on death row. They spend 20 plus years, and then the innocent project comes, hey, we have this new DNA that wasn't available back then, and they free him. And then you got to turn around. They just had to pay this one family $45 million, James. That doesn't come from that prosecutors. The taxpayers are paying those lawsuit money.
Yeah. Yeah. And in fact, I want to show this article too, because a lot of people, and this is why I say it's important to do what Miss Cynthia is doing across the board, across the country, especially if you're in places like California. I think that's important because, look, deputy gangs, a cancer within Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department scathing report finds. Says a 70-page report by the Civilian Oversight Commission special counsel accused the department of harboring secretive groups that must be immediately excised. Basically meaning they have gangs literally in the police departments. It talks about how it says the members who engage in egregious conduct like using excessive force and threatening colleagues as a cancer must be banned immediately. Also accused the union that represents the sheriff's deputies of failing to stop the gangs and protecting alleged members. And I remember watching this report, and one of the things that the person that investigated and uncovered all this, one of the things that she was talking about was that they got rewarded for police brutality, for killings, all these things. And these are gangs of police officers in Los Angeles. And they're in different divisions. They have different names. And they even get tattoos, right? And so when people want to talk about the Crips and the Bloods, I'm like, they ain't got nothing on the boys in blue. And I'm not talking about the Crips.
Because you know what? They can do it legally. These gays, they're legally. And I'm glad you said that. Please go to Phoenix. The DOJ determined that Phoenix was purposely killing black and brown people. Purposely in their report last month that they released. Purposely killing them. Same as California. If they would encounter, people of color, Hispanics, and at the end of it, you're going to have a dead body on the ground with multiple bullets. And they're going to say, hey, we thought the phone or the bag of candy or the brush was a gun. Qualified immunity comes in. As soon as those magic words come out their mouth, everything stops.
Yeah. That's why I also, whenever I have my phone, brightly colored case, so they can't be like, oh my God, he had a gun. This ain't black.
Yeah.
This is yellow.
But they don't care. Black, oh, wait a minute. No. Black men. Oh, yeah. But I understand what you're saying. Well, anyways, yeah, we're going to continue. I will let you know the Attorney General decision on July the 15th. Our briefs are due in the 6th District Court of Appeals on the 17th. And then we have oral arguments with the whole 16 panel on October 30th. So we like to pack the courts with impacted families throughout Ohio, as well as, men and women that have been wrongfully convicted and set free, because that's all a form of, immunity. And what's most importantly, we have to stress, and I'm going to stress this, all immunities are unconstitutional before I got this line, whether it's the presidential, whether it's qualified immunity, prosecutors, judges, they all have to be held accountable because we don't get a qualified immunity, the citizens.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Man, and here is the text of the ballot initiative that you guys are trying to push through for Ohioans to vote on. I think this is deeply important. And if you in your state would, if you live in a ballot initiative state, and if you can push ballot initiatives similar to this, get in touch with the Ohio Coalition to End Qualified Immunity so that you can at least even copy this language so that they can also, you can also end qualified immunity in your state and actually hold your public officials accountable. It's not just police, it's all public officials. Yes,
absolutely. We're just not targeting them. They're like the bottom feeders. We want all government officials, including that Attorney General, that he knows that he has violated our First Amendment. He has defamed us. I'm telling you, it's like just Google it. You'll be interesting what we're doing. But we are taking it to them, the fight to them. They said, in one of his report, he said, like, how dare us challenge his authority? Why not? This is we the people.
I mean, aren't we supposed to be the boss?
Yes, we pay your salary, the taxpayers. So you took that oath, right? They took an oath, correct? And in that oath, they took an oath to honor the Constitution. So honor it. The framers would be turning over in their graves, James, if they knew that the courts have just created, all this that is unfair to the people. Because it's always about we, the people, and our powers. In the Constitution, it clearly states, if we don't agree with something, we have a right to abolish that. Absolutely. And we need to qualified immunity has to go.
Agreed. Also, where can they find you, and what besides this, is there any other events that you'll be holding as well in the near future?
Yeah, my sister's having one tomorrow in Columbus, Ohio at City Hall. I believe the address is 90 Broad Street, because I'm currently in Atlanta and she's currently, in Columbus, Ohio. But our website says it all. They can volunteer, donate on that website, because as we travel throughout Ohio, hitting all these counties, because we submitted signatures with people from over maybe 40 plus counties that said, hey, we agree there has to be accountability. So we're reaching everybody. We want to exclude everybody. Like you said, our white allies are on the front line with us. We need them because we make up only 11% of the population or the voting in Ohio. So we know we need the white allies who were paying attention to the policy. Remember that, James. People should pay attention to the policy. In Ohio, we have none. So we want to create it. We want to save lives and build trust, with law enforcement.
Absolutely. Thank you so very much for joining me once again. I cannot wait. Please return with a new update so that we can keep the viewers up to date on what's going on in Ohio. And I am hoping that this is a massive victory. So then once it starts in Ohio, it can spread throughout the United States.
Yeah, we are the next civil rights movement. We consider ourselves a historical movement here in Ohio.
Thank you so very much, Miss Cynthia. It's good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you too. Have a wonderful. All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, everybody. That was Miss Cynthia Brown with the Ohio Coalition to End Qualified Immunity. If you guys have not, I already put the link in the chat already, so you guys can go there, especially if you're in Ohio, or if you have family members in Ohio or friends in Ohio. Let them know about this, because all you got to do is ask, do you agree that your public officials should be held accountable if they do something wrong? And if they say yes, they agree with ending qualified immunity. Simple as that. So, yes, that being said, go ahead and give the stream a like. Good to see all of you here. Thank you so very much to all of you for joining as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head into the chat really quick. For some reason, Rumble's not working for me right now. I don't know. I'm sorry, guys, but Rumble is acting the fool. I got it on. Oh, wait, hang on. Oh, I see what happened. I made a mistake. That's what happened. I don't know if it's going to work, though, but we shall press on. So thank you so very much to everybody. I'm going to go into the chat really quick just to say my hellos, my greetings, and then we'll get into the rest of the show. So hang on. I'll give it a second. It might connect. Okay. So first we have Jacqueline coming in saying, hey, Jaybefaunt, good to see you, Jacqueline. Nice to have you here. We have Terry Connolly coming in saying, good afternoon, JB and fam. We have Roger Meadows says, enjoy Nick going off on the Black church, but I had to tune in to see my girl Cynthia Brown. Absolutely. I'm going to have to watch Nick go off because I'm pretty sure that was pretty epic. I actually wanted to sneak in, but I had to prepare for this stream. So, but Nick has been doing banger after banger, as he would say. Miguel coming in saying hi to everybody, and Jacqueline, good to see you, Miguel. C. Nichelle says, what happens to stand your ground? That is a very good question, because here's the funny part, is that for people of a particular class and a particular race, it's okay for them to stand their ground. But when it comes to people like me, when it comes to me standing my ground, I can't do it. I can't stop somebody from imposing on my life or putting me in danger. I bet. All right. KD Lewis says, hi. Good to see you, Katie. And C. Nichelle says, we are too forgiving. To the people who may be Christian, this is no slight against you. But remember when they gave our ancestors the slave Bible? They left in all the passages about forgiveness, right? The passages about liberation especially in Exodus, when the Israelites were liberated by Moses out of Egypt, they took that part out. But forgiveness they left in, because they want you to forgive the people who suppressed you, that oppressed you. And then, but here's the thing. Just because you forgive somebody doesn't mean that people shouldn't still be held accountable. And that's the part that a lot of people don't realize. You can forgive somebody all you want, but they still need to be held accountable. So when it comes to police and what they do, that accountability needs to be upheld. And like I said, when we Black people especially, we got to start letting these public servants know we ain't the ones. So yeah, see, Nicho, we need to go harder. KD says, all is well, just struggling with some writer's block. Good to see you. Yeah, I know. If you haven't watched that, Katie, if you haven't watched that interview between me and, well, you did, you were there. But one of the things I think is good to realize is that sometimes that writer's block happens when we're trying too hard to try to think of something, where instead just chill. It'll come to you out of nowhere. And when it comes to you, boom, write it down. So hopefully, yeah. Nika Wicca. It says very dangerous. That name. Katie says, well, the Black Panthers, from their point of inception to the death of Huey, would disagree with the ideas that cops are mindful about the violence they impose on Black people in their communities. I think it's subconscious and conscious. Part of me thinks that it's that. But either way, they still need to be held accountable anyway. You know. But yeah, thank you very much for that. Let's go to the next. Nicolika says, justice for me, but not free. Got it. Yeah. And police has always been a problem. Yes. Jacqueline says, so glad the cops over here aren't armed, because I just dread to think otherwise, although the UK does have an ARU, armed response unit. Yeah. This is why there's not as many Black people being murdered in the UK. Bryce says, morning, JB. Morning, everyone. Good to see you, Bryce. We have Wadi coming in saying hello to everybody, saying hi. We have Retro Gamer coming in saying goodbye to Miss Cynthia. Good to see you, Retro Gamers, in the chat as well. Yes. So one of the things that we're going to be doing, we're going to go into our next subject here. I want to talk about beds. Access denied. Do not pass go. Do not go to jail. Do not collect $200. There once was a young man named JB, and that young man used to sell mattresses. Yes, that's right. I sold mattresses and furniture. My first time I sold mattresses was when I was working for Sears. That's right. It's still around. And I was transferred to the mattress department. And so when I was in the mattress department, very chill atmosphere, by the way. I actually liked it because not too many people came in. And then once you made a sale, that was great. Like, you can make like 1-2 sales in a day. You're good. So I sold mattresses. Now, it could be from Beauty Rest, Stearns and Foster, Sealy, Serta. There was another new one. I forgot the name, but it was those two brothers. They're twins. They created a mattress brand too, but that was right before I left. but a lot of it was mainly Sealy, Serta, Beauty Rest, Stearns and Foster. That was the majority of the brands that we had, right? So we in Tempur-Pedic, the ones that we had to push the most were Tempur-Pedics and Stearns and Foster and the high-end Beauty Rest. Why? Because those made the most money in commission for us, right? Needless to say, Tempur-Pedic and Sealy became part of the same company. Now it's called Tempur-Sealy. Tempur-Sealy is a massive company. Massive. We have a factory here not too far from the Orlando International Airport, actually. I actually went to the factory where they were actually building Sealy's and Stearns and Foster beds too. And funny fact, Stearns and Foster beds are handmade. And they even have a little tag on the end of the bed where the person who actually helped hand make the mattress signs their name. So each Stearns and Foster bed may have a different signature on it because the person signed their name on it. That's how high-end Stearns and Foster is, right? By the way, I ain't gonna lie, those beds are hella comfortable. But with that being said, there was a purchase that Tempur-Sealy tried to make, right? Because under the Tempur-Sealy umbrella, you have Tempur-Pedic, Sealy mattresses, and Stearns and Foster. That's what the company owns. But they also tried to purchase Mattress Firm. And it almost went through if it wasn't for those meddling kids. So let's get into this story here. Let me see. I want to go into first this. So let's see what they tried to do. And then we'll get into the blocking. Let me see. So this is going to be a good one. So it says Tempur-Sealy snaps up Mattress Firm for $4 billion. Like I said, Tempur-Sealy got that dough. They got that cash. All right. Do you guys know how much a Tempur-Pedic mattress costs? Tempur-Pedic mattresses are expensive. Not gonna lie though, I'm gonna be honest with you. I actually really want a Tempur-Pedic mattress because those mattresses are hella comfortable, but unfortunately, I can't afford it. And this actually goes into why I think every single person in this country deserves a very well-built mattress that's suited for them, but because of classism, then people really can't get the adequate sleep that they really should have. That's going to be a rant for a little bit later because, yeah. But let's get into the story right quick. So it talks about Tempur-Sealy snaps up Mattress Firm for $4 billion. So this was back in May, okay? So it says Mattress Firm earlier this year ditched plans to go public, citing ongoing volatility in the IPO market. That meant it still needed to deal with the $1.2 billion in long-term debt and total liabilities of $3.5 billion it was carrying at the time of its IPO filing a little over a year ago. The mattress retailer has been tossing and turning for years now, as DTC companies have chased its market share with generous return policies and other enticements. The company in 2016 has been acquired for $3.8 billion by private equity firm Steinhoff International Holdings, then spent some time in bankruptcy in 2018 when it forged plans to close some 700 stores. For Tempur-Sealy, which makes and sells mattresses under private labels, as well as its Tempur-Pedic, Sealy, and Stearns and Foster lines, Mattress Firm's many stores will allow it to get closer to its customers, according to Tempur-Sealy chairman and CEO Scott Thompson. Quote, this combination will accelerate our growth trajectory and enhance operating cash flow. Mattress Firm has been a valued retail partner for more than 35 years, and we look forward to welcoming their talented workforce of more than 8,100 employees to the Tempur-Pedic family. Says Mattress Firm's more than 2,300 brick and mortar retail stores, e-commerce operations, and sleep education and sleep tracking platforms complement Tempur-Pedic's DTC operations, enabling a seamless omni-channel ecosystem that meets the needs of more customers nationwide. Tempur-Pedic expects to begin realizing various marketing and other synergies by the end of the year 2, and to realize at least $100 million in annual run rate synergies by the end of year 4. So basically what's happening now is the fact that they try to buy a retailer. And so it's really a cornering of the market, if you think about it. This cornering of the market really is, how can I put it? It's monopolization. That's what it is. And so when people talk about, well, capitalism, breeds innovation. How is this innovation? How? Because if you're monopolizing, that means you're getting rid of competition. If you're getting rid of competition, therefore, how can anybody else compete in the free market? It cannot happen. So that's why. Excuse me. So let's get into what actually happened as well. So let's go into this. So $4 billion to buy Mattress Firm, which is crazy in itself. So here is the primary story. So this is Federal Trade Commission unanimously moves to block $4 billion merger of mattress giants. So here it is. It says the Federal Trade Commission unanimously voted to block mattress maker Tempur-Pedic's purchase of Mattress Firm on Tuesday. In May of 2023, Tempur-Pedic, the world's largest mattress supplier and manufacturer, agreed to buy the United States' largest bedding retailer in a roughly $4 billion deal. The Federal Trade Commission authorized a lawsuit in federal court to block the acquisition. The commission said that the proposed deal would suppress competition and raise prices for mattress buyers and give companies enormous power in the mattress supply chain. The Federal Trade Commission also said that documents showed that competing mattress suppliers would lose access to its most important retail channel. These suppliers employ thousands of American workers, it says. Through emails, presentations, and other deal documents, Tempur-Pedic has made it abundantly clear that its acquisition of Mattress Firm is intended to kneecap competitors and dominate the market. This deal isn't about creating efficiencies, it's about crippling the competition, which would raise prices on essential goods that could lead to layoffs for good-paying American manufacturing jobs in nearly a dozen states. Let me repeat this once again. This is capitalism. Don't come to me and go, oh, well, this is just corruption. This is just cronyism. No. See, here's how capitalism works. And I've explained it many times before, but some of you are new, so it's okay. So capitalism basically is the private ownership of the means of production by either one person or a very small group of people. That small group of people could be just the owner and maybe a couple of co-owners, or it could be the owner and shareholders. But it's a small group of people versus the workforce. And in doing so, they exploit the workforce into creating profit, which the workforce largely doesn't have that much of a share in, or doesn't have a share in it at all. Because everybody knows that the workforce's pay is in operation costs. And operation costs are factored in to revenue. And you're not factored into the profit, because then the profit is taken up by the owners and the shareholders, who do not engage in actually producing the goods and services. But you get to a point where you get so big that you do not have the ability to grow any further. And it's like when you start to outgrow some clothes. Well, if you start to outgrow some clothes, well, you gotta switch the shirt. You know, you can only take out the hem and the pants so much. So what do they do? Well, there's a few things that they can do. Either they can change the raw materials and get cheaper raw materials, which lowers the quality of the product, which a lot of companies do. Another thing that they can do is that they can cut costs, operation costs, by laying off employees. They can cut employee benefits, right? They can cut hours. So that's another way they can save money. They also cut corners when it comes to safety regulations. This is why sometimes it's more dangerous to work in certain places. Another thing that they do is they also try to expand by acquiring the competition in order to expand their market share. But this expansion of market share by canceling out the competition causes what we call monopolization, right? Because now you have one store that really holds a huge chunk of the market. This is monopolies. And this gets rid of the competition. And that's how capitalism works, because in order to grow, because capitalism requires infinite growth on a planet with finite resources, in order to continue to grow, and that growth is required because a CEO legally has the fiduciary responsibility to the shareholders, meaning year over year, you have to grow. If you do not grow, you're essentially disobeying the law. So by law, they have to grow the company. So let's say you grew last year 1%, well, they're going to expect a 1% return this year. And you have to grow, meaning prices have to go up or something has to get cut in order for that profit that goes into shareholders' hands, in order for that to go up. And so Tempur-Pedic buying Mattress Firm was a way to grow so that the shareholders get more money as far as their dividends go. And so that's how capitalism works, because you have to continuously grow infinitely, no matter what. And who suffers? Because competition suffers. The people suffer because, of course, what are they going to want to do? Look what it says right here. It said it will raise prices on essential goods and could lead to layoffs for good-paying American manufacturing jobs in nearly a dozen states, meaning they're going to have to streamline the process. meaning what they call trimming the fat. That means less workers. Is the workers' pay going to go up? No, not at all, because they're trying to streamline, meaning they don't want to spend that money. That money that they should pay the workers more for is actually going to go to the shareholders instead. That's greed. That's how capitalism facilitates it. So let's continue. It says the deal would have given the combined company 3,000 stores and 71 manufacturing facilities and was expected to close in the second half of 2024. Tempur Sealy's portfolio includes Tempur-Pedic, Sealy, and Stearns & Foster. Stearns & Foster is actually a very high-end brand along with Tempur-Pedic, just to let you guys know. Sealy's more of the middle-of-the-road brand as far as cost. Says the deal was seen as beneficial for both parties by analysts because mattresses and furniture sales have slowed following the pandemic-induced high when consumers splurge heavy on home furnishings. Mattress Firm was already dealing with its own financial issues, including a 2018 bankruptcy. The retailer struggled with over-expansion and online competitors, including Casper and Amazon. The FTC alleges that the reduced competition in the premium mattress space would harm a substantial portion of those mattress buyers, working class, older adults who often rely on financing. Yes, a lot of the people who buy these higher end mattresses tend to be a little bit older, more established, right? The people who buy the Stearns & Fosters, the Beauty Rest Black, or they buy the Tempur-Pedics are older people. See, here's the thing about mattresses. As your body gets older, your body changes. And so your comfort level changes. And so therefore you need something that's going to be comfortable for you. See, young people typically, they can pretty much sleep on anything, right? But as you get older, you find that you need a little bit more comfort. And them cheap old mattresses ain't going to cut it. So then you need something a little bit better. But with that comes more costs. So this is why older people start looking into the Stearns & Fosters, the Beauty Rest Black, not necessarily, well, sometimes the Beauty Rest Platinum. They'll go into the more higher end Sealy's and the Tempur-Pedics. And so, you know, that's why they typically go into those, right? And sometimes the Serta, I forgot what the Serta premium brand was. I forget. But I think Serta is along with Beauty Rest. But that's the thing, is that there's a lot of older people. And also they have to finance, right? And who typically has the better credit, which would probably be more older, financially established people. Which means you may have somebody that's a professional, that's been in the profession for a few years, quite a few years, and, they've established, savings, and they have great credit. So then they can finance an expensive mattress. And by expensive mattress, I'm talking about $5,000 plus, right? And so that's who our clientele was. If they were young, then they typically had to be somebody young who was affluent. But for the most part, our clientele, 45 and up, right? If somebody young came in, we knew they were going to get cheapo. That's just how it was, especially when it comes to financing. So that's who it would ultimately be hurting. It says the purchase could drive rivals, which includes Serta, Simmons, Bedding, and Purple Innovation Inc. out of business. Says, for example, the combined firm could limit and present future rivals access to Mattress Firm's floor space, award sales associates higher commissions on Tempur Sealy products sold, or otherwise take steps designed to steer customers away from competitors' products and toward Tempur Sealy's mattress. Okay, so as somebody who's used to sell this, I can say from experience, peep this. When you go to a furniture store or you go to a mattress store, The first mattress that people are going to drive you to is a Tempur-Pedic mattress. They're going to try to get you in that mattress as soon as possible. Why? Because the kickbacks from commission is high, right? We not only got bigger commission, but they will also give us bonuses based on the Tempur-Pedic mattress that we will sell. So you got that for Tempur-Pedic, you got that for Stearns and Foster, and you got that for, I think you got it for Beautyrest Black too. You may have got it for Serta too, but I can't remember. But I know you got it for Beautyrest Black, Tempur-Pedic, and Stearns and Foster. And we literally, man, I wish I still had the card, but I literally had a card where whenever I sold a Tempur-Pedic, I would get kickbacks from it. And if let's say hypothetically, I sold a higher end Tempur-Pedic advanced mattress. Let's say they included the adjustable base. It didn't need a box spring because it has the adjustable base, and it was, let's say, medium or soft, right? Right? Because they're either a side sleeper or a back sleeper. Give or take with the adjustable base, it would run between $7,200 to $8,000 with the adjustable base. Baby, I'm getting $150 to $200 on that card by itself, not counting the commission. So of course, I'm going to push that. Now, let's say that sale for Mattress Firm actually went through. If that sale for Mattress Firm actually went through, if I'm a salesperson at Mattress Firm, I am not pushing anything Simmons, Beautyrest, or Serta. I'm not pushing them. I'm pushing Tempur-Pedic, Tempur-Pedic, Sealy, and Stearns and Foster. That's all I'm pushing. I'm going to push that your way every single time because I know that I'm going to get a bigger commission based on that. So, which means that Serta, Simmons, and Beautyrest are not going to get hardly any sales in those thousands of stores, meaning that their sales are going to get depressed, which also is going to affect the people who work for those companies too. See? Because I'm not going to be pushing them. And look, the moment you come in that door, I'm laying you on a Tempur-Pedic. I'm laying you on a Stearns and Foster. Because I want you to feel what you're missing. That's how they do it. They will have you lay on a Tempur-Pedic or Stearns and Foster to see what you're missing. And then as you go, they'll put you in a worse and worse and worse and worse mattress. And then by the time you feel that mattress that maybe costs $400, $500, you're going to be like, man, I really like that Tempur-Pedic though. And then that's when they go, there's financing available. Oh, baby, I know how the game is played because I played it. And then they'll try to explain to you how it's a proprietary product. The Tempur material has been developed by scientists at NASA and all this and that. So I'm going to be real honest with you. You know, that's part of the argument too. It would literally depress and take out other workers in different companies. It says in a statement, Tempur-Sealy said that the bedding industry is highly competitive and only a small fraction of brick and mortar storefronts are mattress firms. It also believes a litigation process will be complete in the next few months, and it still expects to close the transaction in late 2024 or early 2025. It says Tempur-Sealy has been working constructively with the FTC to secure regulatory approval for this transaction, and it's disappointed that the FTC has initiated litigation. We appreciate the efforts to understand the industry and the proposed transaction, but ultimately believe the FTC's perspective does not reflect all the relevant facts and law. Of course they will say that. It says the Mattress Firm similarly said it was disappointed in the statement, and it continues to believe that the transaction with Tempur-Pedic would be beneficial to customers and employees as well as the overall bedding and furniture industry. Of course, you know, that's a whole bunch of baloney. So let's get into the nuts and bolts, the numbers. So I'm going to share with you guys the profit making of beds, because a lot of people don't realize this. When I worked at Ashley Furniture, I used to work at Ashley Furniture Home Store, right? One of the things that if you go to any person that works in a furniture store, the one thing that you are pushed to sell is a mattress. You sell a sofa, cool. Especially if a sofa has, it has electric reclining and all the bells and whistles. Cool, great. If you sell a bed set, a bedroom set, that's cool too, because that means a mattress is involved. If you sell patio set, cool. You sell individual pieces, all right, fine, right? But the mattress, that's where the money is made. That's when your metrics go up, okay? Your sales metrics. So I'm going to share this as well, because a lot of people do not realize the profits margin for mattresses. The profit margin on mattresses is high. It is high. Okay. Okay. So let me see. It says market value, that mattress industry market value is expected to increase 64 billion by 2030. So this was back in April. It says the mattress industry is a lucrative and stable one. Everyone needs something comfortable to sleep on, but that doesn't mean it's an industry immune to market changes. Top mattress firms still need to have their finger on the pulse of current events and consumer demands to stay up top of mind of their customers when it comes to getting a good night's sleep. The only time you actually think about your mattress is when you're uncomfortable, to be honest with you. So it says the global 2024 revenue of the mattress market is 38.97 billion, and its annual growth rate stands at 4.92%. This is the largest market size and high market growth. The value of good sleep isn't lost on customers. Now, I want to share this. So that's the part about the profitability. I'm going to increase the size of this because I want y'all to see this very closely. Profitability says the U.S. mattress market follows the global trend of a 40 to 50% profit margin, which is significant compared to other retailers such as grocery stores that operate with a profit margin of about 5%. I'm telling you this right now. Mattresses make buku money. So, basically meaning profit margin is the cost of the product minus the sale price. So, it may cost $500 to make this mattress, but we're going to sell it for $1,000, right? Not we're going to make $500 and we're going to sell it for $550, or we make it $500, we're going to sell it for $600. No. If we're going to buy this if we're going to make this mattress and it costs us $500 to make this mattress, we're selling it for $1,000. Or sometimes it's even higher than that. I've seen where you can purchase a Tempur-Pedic mattress from like those of us who are salespeople, we can actually purchase a high-end Tempur-Pedic mattress for what, $1,200, but that same mattress costs close to $5,000. They will sell it to people for $5,000, and yet we're getting it for $1,200. We're getting it almost a fifth of the price. We're getting it like 70% off because we're selling it. And Tempur-Pedic's not really making much on it by selling it to us. But to you, the consumer, oh, they're jacking up the price. So this is why I talk about, you know, that 40 to 50% profit margin. They're making tons of money off of you, right? Who sells the most mattresses in the United States? Mattress Firm makes the most mattress sales in the U.S. as the #1 retailer of Tempur-Pedic. Average ticket price for mattress. The cost of a mattress ranges between $300 and $5,000 depending on the mattress size, materials, and quality. The average spend per customer is $754. So this is why mattresses are so expensive, because of the profit margins. Now, I want to go over right here. You guys kind of know where I'm going with this. Let me see. I have it here. Oh, I remember. Let me go into my notes really quick. Here. Where is it? Man, I put a lot of notes in here. Oh, got it. Sorry. Wanted to share this. So let's talk about who really owns Tempur-Pedic. This is Tempur-Pedic International, right? $46 a share, selling that. And who's go shareholders? So the first top is Select Equity Group. Vanguard Fiduciary Trust Company. They own 9.25% of the shares, valued at $761 million. BlackRock. They own 8.16% of shares of Tempur-Pedic, valued at $671 million. State Street Corporation. They own 3.61% of Tempur-Pedic stock, valued at $297 million. Right? So just to let you guys know, the people who basically own a piece of everything also own a piece of Tempur-Pedic. And so when it comes to this being blocked, I say good, but I think it should go way past that. I think companies like Tempur-Pedic, companies, number one, they should be broken up. Number two, they should be turned into worker co-ops. I think companies like Serta, Simmons, that owns Beauty Rest, they should be turned into worker cooperatives. They all should be worker owned, and that profit should be disseminated among all the workers. Now, one more thing I want to talk about. I think it's unconscionable in this country that people in this country are not able to get a good night's rest because of them having a crappy mattress. I think that it should be that anybody and everybody in this country should have a comfortable mattress to sleep on. One of the reasons why some of us are so irritable, so angry, is because we're not getting enough rest. We don't get enough sleep. And in doing so, because of this system, then in order to get good sleep, we literally have to put ourselves in debt in order to do it. I do not agree with that. I think that a great mattress that is good for you, because it's also part of your health, also you deserve to have. Now, you shouldn't have to spend $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 on having a high-end premium mattress. I do not think that that's right. So when it comes to proper sleep, I think that changing the system also means that health-wise, which also is part of prevention against diseases, would also help. And taking over these companies and making them worker-owned, so that if the workers work for these companies, they should be able to afford all their mattresses. And I think that these companies and corporations really should not be taking in all these profits. I think it should be shared among the people who actually create these products. So the people who work at that Sealy factory not too far from OIA, y'all should be having profit share and also democratically running that factory. Meaning you need to vote on who your management is, who are the people who are coordinating everything, and then also vote on the operations and how things go at that factory. And then when it comes to the profits, you guys should be seeing that on your paychecks. Not the shareholders, not the CEOs. If you're going to have a CEO, it's somebody all of you guys vote for, and you all choose the salary of the CEO collectively as the company. That's how it should be. And the CEO is a servant, should be the servant of the workers, not the other way around. So I wanted to get into that too, because I think it's deeply important that we talk about how capitalism really has ruined sleep. It's ruined sleep. And people really, we need to change the system so that people can get better rest. Because really, sleep is also about mental health too. Trust me, I know. I literally went to a hospital because I was so mentally and emotionally exhausted that I thought I was having a panic attack. And I had to go to the hospital because I wasn't getting enough sleep. Trust me, I know. So this is how important it is. And in a company that makes money off of something that is essential for us, which a mattress is essential for each person, it should not cost that much. It should not be that expensive. You should not have to take out almost a damn mortgage just for a good bed. So, yeah, that was my rant. And please make sure to, if you guys can get good sleep, try to get the best mattress you can, but do not put yourself in debt or extreme debt for it. But that's why the system needs to change. So thank you very much. Go ahead and like the stream. Let's get into this. Oh, thanks, Retro. I actually wanted to get into voice acting, but you got to get coaching, and then you need a good, you got to get into like going to like a studio, You gotta have money for that to, do voice recordings and things like that. So maybe if I were to have more time post transplant, then I can do that. Retro says, yeah, the Sealy brand isn't cheap. Yeah, it ain't cheap, especially for the hybrids. The hybrids and they're really good memory foam. Yeah, they're definitely not cheap. Yes. Isn't Tempur-Pedic one of the most expensive brands? Yes. Yes. Let me see who. Jacqueline says, when those mattresses are insured, I wonder if those insurance premiums go up if people have. Mattresses actually, a lot of mattresses actually have, a lot of these companies will put protection plans on them. But those protection plans, they can be kind of finicky too. Let me see here. That was funny though. Sealy, they own Tempur-Pedic mattresses. So Sealy and Tempur-Pedic they came together, and now it's Sealy. Let me see. Yes, Nico Wicca says capitalist oligarchs making it hard for most people to get good quality of life, like good sleep. A lot of people don't talk about, good sleep. Also, by the way, I think everybody, for the most part, every single adult should get sleep evaluated, because most people, there's a lot of Americans that actually have sleep apnea that don't know it, and then that also ruins their quality of sleep. Like a piece on my CPAP machine broke off, and I haven't used it in like 2 weeks. And I definitely feel the effects. And thankfully I'm getting that piece delivered soon. But once I get that piece back on, that mask is going back on, and I'm using that machine. But yeah, that's something that a lot of people don't talk about either. A lot of Americans actually really do need a CPAP machine. But also that comes with us, a lot of us being obese as well. And I think that also contributes to it too, because a lot of times we end up being heavier and our necks being heavier and stuff like that. So, but yeah. So he says, imagine living in a country that prioritizes sleep over profit. Our highways would have bumps on them, or those shoulders that make noise to wake up overworked truck drivers. We actually do here in Florida, at least I know. But even then, we should not have overworked truck drivers. We should not have overworked drivers, period. That's a liability. Let me see here. Let's get into, are we good on Rockpin? We're good on Rockpin. All right. And so is Rumble working? Yes, Rumble is working. Good. All right, so before we get into that, I just want to give a shout out. We're going to give a shout out to the patrons. The patrons? Yes, the patrons. So I would like to shout out all the patrons on Patreon. Here are the tiers. So patrons make this channel happen. So thank you so very much. Mega Jaybefaunters, Super Duper Jaybefaunters, Super Jaybefaunters, Comrades, Solidarity, and JB members. And thank you so much to new members, Thomas Bear and Jill Aboud. Thank you so very much for becoming patrons on Patreon and making this happen. And just to let you guys know, baby, this channel is demonetized. So if you'd like to support the channel, you can support it via Patreon or PayPal. PayPal link is also in the description below. So with that being said, let's get into our final story this day. 186,000 slain. We all knew that the numbers of people that were massacred in Gaza was going to be much higher. Some of us were estimating 45, 50, 55,000. But 186,000? There was a story that recently came out that I would like to share with you all. And this is being shown all over Twitter right now. But I want to get down to the nitty-gritty on this one. This is out of The Lancet. And it says here, by June 19th, 2024, 37,396 people have been killed in the Gaza Strip since the attack by Hamas and the Israeli invasion on October 2023, according to the Gaza Health Ministry, as reported by the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs. The ministry's figures had been contested by the Israeli authorities, although they have been accepted by Israeli intelligence services, the UN, the United Nations, and the World Health Organization. The data is supported by independent analyses comparing changes in the number of deaths of UN Relief and Workers Agency, UNRWA, staff with those reported by the ministry, which found claims of data fabrication implausible. It says the collecting data is becoming increasingly difficult for the Gaza Health Ministry due to the destruction of the much-needed infrastructure. The ministry has had to augment its usual reporting based on people dying in hospitals or brought in dead with information from reliable media sources and first responders. This change has inevitably degraded the detailed data recorded previously. Consequently, the Gaza Health Ministry now reports separately the number of unidentified bodies among the death toll. As of May 10, 2024, 30% of the 35,091 deaths were unidentified. It says some officials and news agencies have used this development designed to improve data quality to undermine the veracity of the data. However, the number of reported deaths is likely an underestimate. I'm going to repeat. It says, however, the number of reported deaths is likely an underestimate. So this is out of The Lancet, talking about how there have been more people massacred in Gaza than even we figured, because of the extermination of Palestinians by the hands of Israel. Let's continue. It says the non-governmental organization Air Wars undertakes detailed assessments of incidents in the Gaza Strip and often finds that not all names of identifiable victims are included in the ministry's list. Furthermore, the UN estimates that by February 29th, 2024, 35% of buildings in the Gaza Strip have been destroyed. So the number of bodies still buried in the rubble is likely substantial, with estimates of more than 10,000. Meaning they have just scratched the surface of finding all of the massacred people in the Gaza Strip. All right. Now, it says armed conflicts have indirect health implications beyond the direct harm from violence. Even if the conflict ends immediately, there will continue to be many indirect deaths in the coming months and years from causes such as reproductive, communicable, and non-communicable diseases. How many times have we seen photos of little children starving to death in Gaza because of a famine, because of Zionists, Israelis that are blocking aid from coming into Gaza? They're blocking medicine, food, water, and fuel from coming in, thus meaning even though the bombs didn't kill them, the starvation and the disease will. And you think this is still justified, and you think you want to blame Palestinian resistance. That's the problem. Is that people who make excuses for this are literally making excuses for extermination. And there's no coming back from that. Let's continue. Says the total death toll is expected to be large given the intensity of this conflict. Destroyed healthcare infrastructure, severe shortages of food, water, and shelter, the population's inability to flee to safe spaces, and the loss of funding to UNRWA, one of the very few humanitarian organizations still active in the Gaza Strip. It continues. And recent conflicts such indirect deaths range from 3 to 15 times the number of direct deaths. And applying a conservative estimate of 4 indirect deaths per 1 direct death to the 37,396 deaths reported, it is not implausible to estimate that up to 186,000 or even more deaths could be attributed to the current conflict in Gaza. Using the 2022 Gaza Strip population estimate of 2,375,259, this would translate to 7 to 9% of the total population in the Gaza Strip. A report from February 7th of 2024, at the time when the direct death toll was 28,000, estimated that without a ceasefire, there would be between 58,260 deaths without an epidemic or escalation, and 85,750 deaths if both occurred by August 6th of 2024. We are 1 month away from August 6th. And an immediate and urgent ceasefire in the Gaza Strip is essential, accompanied by measures to enable the distribution of medical supplies, food, clean water, and other resources for basic human needs. At the same time, there is a need to record the scale and nature of suffering in this conflict. Documenting the true scale is crucial for ensuring historical accountability, acknowledging the full cost of war. It is also a legal requirement. The interim measures set out by the International Court of Justice in January 2024 require Israel to take effective measures to prevent the destruction and ensure the preservation of evidence related to allegations of acts within the scope of the Genocide Convention. The Gaza Health Ministry is the only organization counting the dead. I repeat, the Gaza Health Ministry is the only organization counting the dead. So when you have Zionists say, well, they're lying, all right, then you get out there. You start counting them. You count them. Let us know. But they're not getting out there to count them, are they? They're not uncovering them from the rubble, are they? No. It's the Gaza Health Ministry that's doing it. They're the ones. And now you have non-governmental organizations saying that, yeah, most likely they're undercounting. It's more than that. Furthermore, this data will be crucial for post-war recovery, restoring infrastructure, and planning humanitarian aid. So that's from the Lancet, and I'm going to put this link in the article in the chat just so that you guys have this, and you guys can share this among people who say, but Hamas. Because the thing is now we're getting up to, because now we're getting to the realm of more than 100 times the people, more than 100 times Palestinians have been killed compared to Israelis on October 7th. And that's important to point out when we talk about the disproportionate nature of what's going on. I also want to point to how a lot of the corporate media is now starting to turn on Israel. I'm going to share my screen here, and we're going to see what Nico House actually points out. And Nico points this out very well. I'm going to read this first. It says, Haaretz publishes documents showing that Israel used its infamous Hannibal Directive on October 7th, not once, not twice, but multiple times after the same publication smeared journalists who reported the same months ago. Let's get into this. Nico House through Hotspot right now.
Haaretz, a publication in Israel, admits that the IDF ordered the Hannibal Directive on October 7th after initially smearing journalists who made this claim months ago. There was crazy hysteria. Decisions were made without verified information. Yup, the documents and testimonies obtained by Haaretz prove that the Hannibal order wasn't implied or insinuated, but they actually used the word Hannibal. One example was at 7:18 a.m. at the Yifta Post. After they realized one of the IDF soldiers had been captured, the order was given, Hannibal at arrest, and it came from the divisional headquarters. They dispatched the Zeke, which is a drone, and they handled their business. At 7:41 a.m., the order was given again. That wasn't the last time it was given. In fact, there were multiple times after this that the Hannibal Directive was explicitly given to kill Israeli soldiers so that they would not fall into captivity by Hamas.
Hang on. Let's stop right there. And so who is going after Israel for murdering their own citizens? Do you condemn Israel for murdering its own citizens? By the way, Israelis were actually murdered with our federal dollars, with our money. Because who gives $3.8 billion a year to Israel? United States. Who's using those weapons that murdered Israelis? Who? The IDF is using those weapons that were paid for by the United States. So not only has the United States contributed to the extermination of Palestinians, but the United States has also contributed to the killing of Israeli citizens. Let's continue. Take it away, Nico.
Do y'all know how many of us were attacked, smeared, berated as anti-Semitic because we reported that the Hannibal Directive had been used? And most of us used reporting directly from Israeli documents before to prove that information. Here, Max Blumenthal points out that Haaretz pegged him as a manipulator for reporting on the Israeli army's killing of many Israeli citizens on October 7th. Max also points out that the Washington Post published 2 lie-filled smears about members of the Gray Zone for helping to expose the Hannibal Directive scandal. Roger Waters tried to explain this to Piers Morgan, explaining that Israel was responsible for some of the death toll that day on October 7th, and Piers just shrugged him off. Like, no, that's not true, that's not true. Bro, Sam Husseini tried to ask State Department spokesperson Miller about the Hannibal Directive just last month. And the State Department allegedly never heard of this Hannibal Directive. And
I find that to be complete and utter baloney. They don't know what the Hannibal Directive is. Do we look like Boo Boo the Fool to you? Shit. I'm telling you right now. Sorry for interrupting you, Nico. Keep going, bro.
Hannibal Directive. And I just love how you have all of these propagandists playing stupid or naive as they attack actual journalists for doing their job. Because it was literally in a Haaretz article that the Hannibal Directive is a thing. It was just canceled allegedly in 2016 by Israel's chief of staff. Yet another lie by Israel. Surprise, surprise. But as usual, it gets deeper. Now, we all know by now that Israel had advanced knowledge of October 7th before it happened and basically did nothing about it. But what was even crazier is the fact that we found out, thanks to reporting by people like Ben Swan, that they knew that the party goers were being shot at the festival at 7 a.m. and told them to fend for themselves. The shooting started at 7 a.m. The IDF didn't show up until 3 p.m. And the military.
That reminds me of police here in the United States. If you actually have an issue in the hood and then you call the police, they take their sweet little time to get to you. I guess that's another thing they learned from the IDF, huh? So at 7 a.m., if you're being attacked and then the military that's supposed to protect you doesn't show up till 3, that means they didn't care about you. Woo-wee.
Until 3 p.m. And the military officer responsible for telling them to fend for themselves just so happened to be responsible for the fact that the festival was moved from another area to the border of Gaza that day. So he moved them into the danger and then told them to fend for themselves. So just
hang on. This is another point. So you mean to tell me that Israel used their own citizens as bait? The most moral army in the world, huh? And Zionists are defending them? When are y'all going to condemn this? Told them to fend for themselves? Why would they tell them to fend for themselves? Is it maybe because most of the people that are considered civilians at that music festival are actually either current or former IDF soldiers that are probably already armed? Meaning that a lot of them are most likely already people that have served in the military, meaning they have access to weapons too? Man, let's continue.
The kids were keeping score here. Journalists were attacked for saying that Israel was at least partially responsible for the lives lost that day, and it turned out we were right. They weren't just indirectly responsible, they literally gave an order to kill Israelis that day, and in at least one instance, a group was moved from a safe location to a dangerous location and then told to fend for themselves as they were being mowed down.
And just to let you guys know, if you have a bunch of people within an open air concentration camp, and then you put a music festival right outside of that open air concentration camp, you don't think that you're not putting those people at a risk? You're putting them right next to that open air concentration camp? Obviously deliberate. Obviously putting the lives of Israelis in danger. That's Israel. Oh, man.
So just like the violence we've seen from Israel since October 7th has been so destructive that it seems to have nothing to do with protecting the hostages or targeting Hamas, it seems like even the day of October 7th, all the damage that Israel wreaked that day had nothing to do with protecting or saving Israeli hostages and had nothing to do with specifically targeting Hamas. It's almost as if they were looking for a reason to go into Gaza, and October 7th gave them that reason. Now, if you want to call me a conspiracy theory for that, go right ahead.
So, yeah, that's one of the things I think is important, is that when we talk about the death toll, some of that death toll was actually of Israelis was actually caused by Israel themselves. And so I think that's one of the parts that it is important to talk about. Now, I'm going to share this as well, because a lot of times they are going to try, Zionists are really going to try to, gloss over this. They're going to try to say, well, no, that's not really true. Hamas, and then basically say Israel has the right to defend themselves. Meanwhile, you have a bunch of people in an open air concentration camp that have been there for years, that have been subject to inhumane treatment, and you expect them to just heal and don't do anything to liberate themselves. All right, bet. So we're going to go into this from Aaron Mate. And I realized why they call him Buzzsaw. I didn't realize why, but now I can see it. So Aaron Mate really takes this Zionist to task. By the way, side note, this dude got a punchable face. I'm sorry. But anyway, he reminds me of one of those kids in school that brags about, him going places and having all these, things and toys, and my dad does this and my dad does that. He reminds me of one of those kids. Oh, I couldn't stand those kids. Anyway, let's get into this. So it says the Israeli outlet Haaretz has confirmed what independent journalists Ali Abdunimah, David Sheen, and Maximum Thought reported from the start. Israel evoked the Hannibal Directive and slaughtered its own people on October 7th to prevent them from being taken captive. Former IDF spokesperson Jay Conricus, who spoke for 10 minutes before me uninterrupted, repeatedly interrupted and deflected as I shared this fact. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, this dude right here on the left, he is going to piss you off. He's going to piss you off. He pissed me off. He's going to piss you off. But I'm telling you right now, Aaron Mate handled this way better than I could. Way better. And thank God they're at separate locations. I'm just saying. All right, let's get into this because this is important. All right.
It did happen. That's been known for a very long time from Israeli military sources and witnesses who reported seeing Israeli forces fire on them on October 7th. The difference is that now, finally, an Israeli newspaper, Haaretz, has acknowledged this, and more Israeli military sources have come forward. The reporting from Haaretz says, according to one source, that the order was to turn the south of Israel, that frontier with Gaza, into a killing zone, which is exactly what happened. It underscores that Israel has no concern for civilian life, not just inside Gaza, but also its own people, because it did not want to have Hamas take captives that could be used for negotiations to free Palestinian hostages. And that's been lost here. There are thousands of Palestinian hostages in Israeli dungeons. And a major goal of Hamas here was to take captives and use them as leverage to free Palestinians who have been in Israeli dungeons for years and years and years.
Now, before this human pinky toe starts to interrupt Aaron Mate, yes. So the whole reason for taking hostages that the Palestinian resistance was trying to do is so that they can exchange the Israeli hostages for the Palestinian hostages that are being held by Israel, because they want their families back. That's the whole reason for taking hostages. The whole reason why Palestinian resistance, if you look at the hostages from the Palestinian resistance versus the hostages that are Palestinian hostages that are held by Israel, it's night and day. Because the hostages that are held by Palestinian resistance, they come out happy, they're good, they're in good health, they're not overly skinny from being starved. They don't have bruises all over their bodies from being beaten. No, but the hostages that were held by Israel their eyes are sunken in. They're super skinny. They lost a ton of weight. They have bruises all over their bodies, right? Some of them suffer from sexual assault. So the thing is, a lot of times people don't want to focus on that. But yeah, that's exactly what happened. But the thing is that they're really just trying to get their families back, ultimately. But people want to say, oh, we want to release the hostages. But they only talk about the Israeli hostages, but they never want to talk about the Palestinian hostages. Let's continue. All right. This guy's going to interrupt. I can't stand this.
Dungeons for years and years and years. And excuse me, I didn't interrupt you. I did not interrupt you. I did not interrupt you, despite your many falsehoods.
No, but what you're saying is disgusting.
Excuse me.
I
didn't interrupt you.
Hamas's murder.
And you're whitewashing mass murder, which is the whole point of suppressing the truth about October 7th. Since it happened, we have not heard.
Oh, and I guess you are the bearer of truth, a Hamas apologist. You will tell viewers around the world about truth. A propagandist for Hamas, someone who spreads falsehoods and lies about Hamas.
Just to let you guys know, Aaron Mate is an award-winning journalist from the Gray Zone. So whose word would I take more? The dude on the left who keeps interrupting whenever an inconvenient fact comes across? Or would I trust the word of Aaron Mate, an award-winning journalist that has really been on the ground uncovering lots of atrocities that have been happening all over the world? By the way, just in case anybody's wondering, yes, Aaron Mate is also Jewish. Yep. His father is Dr. Gabor Mate. So he definitely has authority on talking about this. Let's continue.
for Hamas, someone who spreads falsehoods and lies about Hamas and apologizes for them and tries to whitewash.
Can you stop talking now? I didn't interrupt you. You're a propagandist for the Israeli military, which is a mass murdering entity. And the whole point of this October 7th propaganda and burying the truth that Israel killed its own people was to manufacture support.
Have you ever been in Israel, Aaron?
Yes,
have you ever been in Israel? Have you seen it?
Yes, I've lived in Israel. Yes, I've lived in Israel.
Have you been in the kibbutzim after October the 7th, Aaron? Have you been here? Have you seen the families? Have you met them?
Can you stop deflecting?
Have you met the...
So, here's the thing, right? This is how Zionists operate. Once you start speaking facts, they have to interrupt you no matter what, because they don't want the people to actually hear the facts of what's being reported on the ground. Then what they'll do is they'll try to discredit you by saying, well, have you been to Israel? Have you? Huh? Have you been to Israel? Aaron Mate goes, yeah, I've lived there. So they try to discredit Aaron Mate, and Aaron Mate was like, bro, I'm one of you. I know what the deal is. I peeped the game. I have been there. And I love when people who have actually been to the West Bank, who have been to Gaza, who have been to Israel, who are anti-Zionists, I love when Zionists go up to them, go, have you been to Israel? And they go, yeah, I have. Have you been to the West Bank? Yeah, I have. Have you been to Gaza? Yeah, I have. And what? What? I've seen it with my own eyes. I love when they do that. Because then, where does this guy have to pivot? He has nowhere. Nowhere. Oh my gosh. No wonder why they call Aaron Mate Buzzsaw. Bzzz. Let's continue.
Families? Okay. Have you met them?
Can you stop deflecting?
Have you met the survivors? Have you met the hostage survivors?
Can you stop deflecting, interrupting?
No, because
I understand why you want to change the subject.
If you have any authority on the matter.
Okay, I speak as someone who's
concerned with facts. You speak as if you know anything. You speak as if you know Israeli civilians, as if you know what Hamas did on October the 2nd.
I understand your job as a propagandist.
You haven't been here. You haven't watched Israeli civilians murdered by Hamas.
I understand you're doing your job, but I'm asking you to shut up now because I didn't interrupt you. You're a propagandist for mass murder, which is why you're trying to shut me up.
Just a
in October. Excuse me.
Apologist.
Stop talking. I didn't interrupt you. I let you spew on for minutes. I did not interrupt you. Now, the reason why you went in.
Hang on. Did you notice he kept repeating the same thing over and over? Because he honestly cannot think of anything to really come back at him with. He factually cannot compete with Aaron Mate. Funny part is, it's like someone told me, somebody told me this phrase, and I want to use it here. In a battle of wits, this guy has come unarmed. He's getting owned by Aaron Mate, and he can't stand it. I wish can get Aaron Mate on this channel. I would love to talk to him. I've reached out before, but I haven't really gotten any response back. But hopefully one day. Let's continue.
Interrupt me because I'm acknowledging the facts, which is that Israel did kill its own people on October 7th and hid that truth to manufacture support for its own mass murder campaign inside of Gaza, which has killed tens of thousands of people. That's the atrocity unfolding before our eyes right now.
Aaron, let me jump in here because, Aaron, let me ask you. I mean, it is quite clear from their own admission through the way they were live streaming a lot of the barbaric acts they were committing that Hamas murdered many, many, many people that day. You presumably accept that.
There certainly were atrocities on October 7th. Yes.
Right. I mean, how many people do you believe Hamas killed and wounded?
Well, the point is there should have been an independent investigation of this from the start, which Israel has.
I'm sure we will,
because
I'm just asking
logically, excuse me.
You're a journalist. You're a journalist. You'll have seen all the same stuff as me, right? You'll have seen Hamas terrorists openly boasting about the horrors they were committing. It seems to me that it is indisputable that the vast majority of people who were killed that day were killed by Hamas. Now, what is significant? What is significant to me is the revelation that this Hannibal directive was issued means that there was clearly some people on the Israeli side who were killed by Israeli forces as part of this open fire without constraints, even if it imperils the lives of Israelis. I don't think we know yet what the split is in terms of numbers, but I think to try and pretend, I mean, you accuse Jonathan Conrickeser of deflecting, but to try and pretend that the vast majority...
You notice how the Zionist is super quiet now. Now that Pierce is speaking and defending Israel, he's super quiet. And so this is why you need a peep game. Because somebody like Pierce Morgan, who's still technically under the umbrella of working for Rupert Murdoch, who is a huge billionaire Zionist, of course Pierce Morgan is going to defend Israel. This is why the Zionist is super quiet now. Because he's okay with Pierce Morgan responding to him. Because he sees Pierce Morgan as his colleague. This is why when it comes to corporate media, and I consider Pierce Morgan corporate media, this is why you guys got a peep game. Because they're going to try to cover the ass of Israel, the United States, and Western governments. They're always going to either try to cover up for them and say, oh, that's not true, or they're going to try to apply plausible deniability. So always, always, always take everything with a grain of salt when it comes to these corporate media operatives. I just noticed that.
Jonathan Conrickeser of deflecting, but to try and pretend that the vast majority of people who were killed and wounded that day were not killed and wounded by Hamas would also be a deflection of the truth, wouldn't it?
It would be a deflection of the truth to insist without evidence that the vast majority of people were killed by Hamas. We don't know because there has not been a credible independent investigation, which Israel obviously wants to stop. Now, think of it logically here. Certainly, yes, Palestinian militants committed atrocities on October 7th. But think of it logically. If now you have confirmation from an Israeli newspaper and Israeli military sources that a directive was issued to turn that area into a killing zone and to achieve that goal of preventing anyone from crossing back into Gaza. Excuse me, that's exactly what Howard supported. I didn't interrupt you. I'm going to finish my sentence.
No, that isn't what was said.
Excuse me, if that directive is, that's exactly what.
In a debate, you are supposed to allow the person to make their point, and then you come after without interrupting and debunk what they said. This guy is desperate for people to not hear what Aaron Mate is saying. Because this guy, you know what he's trying to do? He is basically trying to keep the clock running so the clock runs out and keep interrupting so people don't actually hear the facts coming out of Aaron Mate's mouth. He's trying to filibuster this entire conversation. That's how you know they're desperate. Because if the facts could be easily debunked, he would let Aaron finish his point and then he could debunk it. But he can't. And that's the point. And you can clearly see his frustration because he can't keep his yap shut.
That's exactly what it says. No. It says in Haaretz, excuse me. That's what it says. I'll post it online afterwards.
Well, the fact that it says so in Haaretz doesn't make it true. And if you're citing a source, please be specific. And it's a matter of real consequence.
I did, and you're lying about my
the directive was to turn it into a killing zone isn't correct.
All right, well, hang on. Okay, hang on, please.
He's interrupting.
When you talk over each other, it's very hard to keep up with it. Let me bring in Gideon. Let me bring in Gideon because Gideon.
No, I'm going to finish my sentence.
Finish your sentence, and I'm going to go to Gideon because he actually has work for her.
See how Aaron literally has to fight? And then Pierce will allow this guy constantly to interrupt. Pierce is allowing the interruptions to happen. Are you a moderator or not? There is no neutral side here when it comes to this program. Pierce Morgan is on the side of the Zionists. And please continuously remember that. He is not a neutral arbiter. He's not calling balls and strikes. He's in it for the Zionist side. So please remember that.
If one of the most sophisticated militaries in the world is employing a directive to turn the area into a killing zone and using its weapons of war, including Apache helicopters, then it's very plausible to assume that, yes, a large number of people were killed by Israel's own forces.
That's why they call him Buzzsaw, because he cut through all the noise, cut through all the nonsense. And so, you know, when you think about it all, you know, encapsulate it all, is that really this is a extermination of Palestinian people that has been going on. And we are at 186,000 since October 7th, but we're not talking about October 6th, October 5th, October 4th. We're not talking about 2019. We're not talking about 2014. We're not talking about 2005. We're not talking about 1967. We're talking about all the way since 1948, baby. That's when this all started. So when somebody goes October 7th, no. Let's go back. You got to know where everything started from. That's part of dialectical materialism. You got to know where it started from in order to know why things are the way they are now. You got to know why materially what happened. So this is why it's important to know, oh, well, this is how it started. This is why they're doing what they're doing. Because if you keep somebody in an open air concentration camp subject to oppression day after day while seeing their family members being massacred because Israel wants to mow the lawn, then guess what? Of course, they are going to have armed resistance against the oppressor. And that armed resistance is going to result in some people being killed. Unfortunately, that's the way it goes. The best way to actually save lives is really to stop the illegal occupation and apartheid and give Palestinians full equal rights. That's the way you stop it and allow the Palestinians the right to return to their homes and land. 186,000. And you mean to tell me that that's justified? Please. Go ahead and like the stream. Thank you so very much to everybody. Let's get into the comments in the chat and we shall continue. All right. I'm going to back up way too high. Nika says, if only there was a system that put children's lives over profit. Yep. Jacqueline says, and the Gazan health ministry are probably being shot at whilst they're doing it. Probably talking about counting the dead. Yeah. Roger Meadow says, missed the entire show. Bad accident waiting for highway patrol to tow off road. Ooh, yikes. You're okay though, right, Roger? Please let a brother know. Let me see. Wardy says you can't beat Aaron when he's on his game. True. Bryce Smith says Palestinian militants or freedom fighters. I'll just say this: the ANC and people like Nelson Mandela were accused of being militants and terrorists. The people who wanted to get rid of apartheid. Yep. Jacqueline says, and even before 1948, there were massacres even before then. Yep. Yep, absolutely. Let me see. Baby Goes Hard in the Paint says October 7th was a coalition of resistance fighters. Yeah, and so there was about 17 different groups. The PFLP, which is a secular group of anti-capitalist Palestinian fighters who are not guided by a religion at all, were part of the resistance groups too. So when people talk about, oh, it's Muslims, no. It's like all of them are not Muslim. And even then, I'd be willing to argue that some of the resistance fighters in Palestine were Christian and Jewish, as well as secular, because they want liberation too. Ah, boy. But yeah, you're right. And everybody wants to put focus on Hamas, but they're one of like many. I understand. I see where you're going. Yeah. I came in and covered it in, so thank you. But yeah, so I hope you guys, enjoyed the show today. I'll be trying to get into Margaret Kimberly's book later this week. I'm gonna try to see if I can cover that Thursday, because I really want to get back into this presidential, and then I'll go back in through the cycle to do more readings throughout the week. So yes, I'll be getting into that. This Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern, I will be on Nico House's channel. We'll be having some discussion of news stories, so that's going to be a great time. Also, stay tuned this Thursday for the Savvy and JB show on RBN. So that's also going to be a really good time. So I cannot wait. And so, yeah, and I cannot wait to see you guys over the weekend. It's going to be good. And also, I should be meeting up with the RBN Orlando chapter. We're going to be doing some discussing of our next plan of action, and then once we come to an agreement of when we're going to do our next action, I will let you guys know, so that if anybody wants to join in, excuse me, if anybody wants to join in and come with us and help our community, then I'll send out the invite with where we're going to be meeting and what we're going to be doing and all that beautiful jazz. So we'll get into that. But that being said, I'm going to head on out. But as I head on out, I'm going to share a really nice video with you guys as a part of what happened. Hang on. Roger, you okay, bro? Oh no, Raj. Oh my gosh. Roger got into an accident. Hang on. Yeah, shout out to you, Roger. I'm very sorry that happened. Oh man. Yeah, guys, send well wishes to Roger. He was in an accident. He's okay, but his car is totaled. So while I was live. So, and Roger, if you are watching or listening, if you can put your links, well, not the links, but if you can, put like the username to like your Cash App, your Venmo, your PayPal, whatever, and I can share them or whatever, then just let me know and I'll share it on Twitter as well too. So, gosh, what a thing to go through. I'm sorry, man. Damn. All right. So I'm going to head on out, everybody. I'm going to share this video with you guys. Okay. All right. So let me share this as well. Actually, you know what? Hang on. I know what to do. Oh, wait. All right. So I'm going to put the link to Roger Meadows' Cash App real quick. So if anybody can donate some money to Roger Meadows, because I know those bills are going to come up quick. So yeah. So if you guys go to $R money16, then that's Roger Meadows. He literally just got into a accident. I've been live, for the last 2 hours, and within that last 2 hours, he just got into an accident and his car is totaled. So if you guys can help out, then please make sure to do that as well. And then, okay, I got it. And then I will share his Venmo as well. Let me see, make sure I put in, let me see. All right, so let's put that. Really? All right, so let me see. How to find. Do I have to log in? I don't want to log in, but. All right, so. All right, I'll just put this in here. I was going to try to get the full link, but it's okay. You guys go to Venmo. Here it is. Roger Meadows put in Roger-Meadows. So that's, you guys just look that up on Venmo, Roger-Meadows. That's what it is on Venmo. So if you guys do that, okay. Send what you can. This is basically mutual aid to help out a comrade. So thank you very much. And please, speedy and easy recovery, Raj. Please, man. When life happens, man, that sucks. All right. Love you, Raj. I'll let Sabby know what happened too. All right. Okay, so everybody, I'm gonna head on out because I have to go. But it was good to hear from all of you. Look, like I always say, water your plants, water yourselves, leave the world better. And look, please make sure to hold your public officials accountable because that's what's important. And also try to get plenty of good sleep if you can. And please just do whatever you can to help out your fellow human beings. And also do not listen to whatever these Zionists say, because honestly, these Zionists, they're going to lead you to think whatever the State Department and whatever Israel wants you to think versus what's actually happening on the ground. So pay attention to what's really happening on the ground. Okay. And so I just want to thank you guys for tuning in. Yes. And forehead kisses to every single one of you. Please make sure to give Roger all the assistance that he needs in this trying time. It is harsh, but I'm going to leave you guys with this. This is going to be a video of Holocaust survivors that are in support of Palestinians. Yes, Jewish Holocaust survivors. I think it's important that we hear from them regarding this very topic. I love you guys for watching. You guys have yourself a wonderful evening, and I'll see y'all.
I'm a Jewish Holocaust child survivor, and I find it utterly horrendous what goes on using the Holocaust in Gaza.
My name is Stephen Kopos, and I am a child survivor of the Holocaust from Hungary, Budapest, and 15 members of my family died in the Holocaust, and I am here to show that Hungarian and other Jewish survivors are supporting the Palestine and the cause of liberation of the Palestinian people. And we are against all suppression, and particularly against the genocide that we had ourselves experienced in 1944, and now it is perpetrated against the Palestinian people, and we protest against it, not in our name.
Thank you so very much for watching my channel, and I deeply appreciate it from the top and bottom of my heart. If you wish to support the channel further, so I can keep bringing you content that is educational and informative, you can become a patron on patreon.com/Jaybefaunt. You can find that link in the pinned comment or in the description below. No matter what you give, you'll be supporting independent media and education that helps make the world better. Thank you so much, and you can watch more of my content here. Mwah. Forehead kisses, and have a beautiful day.